Then we get to pivot over to the Coliseum, where USC has had a couple weeks to lick its wounds of losing against Illinois. Now they're back in action, but they are facing a Michigan team that is starting to find itself with freshman Bryce Underwood. Now, Danny, as you look from the quarterback perspective, we've got Bryce Underwood, the true freshman, who is slowly but surely trying to put things together. We've also got Jaden Maeva, who through the first couple weeks of the season looked like he could be one of the best in the country and maybe still has an argument there. Danny, how do you see the quarterback matchup between Maeva and Underwood?
Oh, I clearly think USC needs Jaden Maeva to play a better game. They're more quarterback reliant. Their run game is adequate, but we saw against Illinois, it got a little bit exposed somewhat. Going against a more physical team from the Big Ten, I think that'll be more of the situation for USC. That's my big question for them. I think Maeva will play really well. I mean, he made some throws that, yes, while they almost got some of his receivers killed, they were still unbelievable throws that the receiver came down with them. And for Bryce Underwood, it's sort of similar to the way Ohio State was treating Julian Sain, except they still have the training wheels on. Like, they haven't taken him off yet because he's a true freshman. He doesn't have as much experience nor the talent around him that you see at Julian Sain has at Ohio State. But just watching him in person, the way he's composed himself, the way he carries himself in the system, the way they're utilizing him more in the run game, I think he's exactly where you want him as far as progression, taking the steps forward that you would like to see. And the good news is for Michigan, if you win this game and you can find a way to sort of win games while your quarterback is developing, they're going to be a really tough out in November. But this is a huge test for both these teams that I think are in the conversation for that fourth best team in the Big Ten. And we're about to find which one takes a huge step forward in that conversation.
Yeah, I don't think it could be understated how good Maeva has been playing this year. In fact, I think if USC wins that game on the road against Illinois, he's probably the Heisman favorite at the moment because USC is undefeated and he's been putting up incredible numbers. And he had an incredible performance in that game, even though his team lost. And as you mentioned, Danny, he did throw a couple of floaters over the middle that probably had his receivers giving him a stern talking to in the huddle afterwards. But other than that, he's been on point. Mekhi Lemon has really emerged as a terrific receiver for him in that offense. But as far as the other side of this, Bryce Underwood is a player that, to me, we saw him in that road game against Oklahoma, his second career start, his first road start. Didn't look ready for the moment, struggled. The offense as a whole completely struggled, and they didn't get anything going in that game. But we're seeing a kid who, as a freshman, who as he's gaining more and more experience with every single passing week, is getting better week by week. He played well on the road against Nebraska a couple weeks ago in Michigan's 3-point win. And I think last week at home against Wisconsin was his best performance. Maybe not statistically, but just as far as everything pre-snap and post-snap, just going through the process and the procedure, I think he looked fantastic. I think it was his best start of his career to this point. So if we see that kind of progression now going on the road against the USC defense that's been a bit banged up and I don't think is all that strong to begin with, we could see something of a Bryce Underwood coming out party. And if we get it, it's going to be a Michigan victory.
Yeah, I agree with Tom here. I also think like the status of some of these players for USC is going to be really important to monitor. USC does not have tremendous depth. They do have some really nice, high-end guys. We did see that Elijah Page was dressed for practice during the bye week, so I think that's a really important one right there. He missed the second half of the Michigan State game and didn't play against Illinois. It's one of the best left tackles in the Big Ten. Still not sure on their center. I would hope to get him back. Lane's already back. They have a couple important defensive guys who have been banged up as well. To Tom's point, if some of these guys don't play for USC, I don't think USC should be favored. But if they do have these high-end guys, I totally understand the line here because USC does have a lot of playmaking ability on the outside. With Michigan, it's like you see flashes. I need to see those flashes like actually spark a fire, and like they need to result in like actual touchdowns, not just like, hey, that's a nice play, and then they mess up in the red zone, or like, hey, that's a cool concept. I see what they're trying to do there, and then the guy drops the ball. Like Michigan might need to score in the mid-30s to win this ball game, and I'm not totally sure that it can, but I'm also not sure that it can't. I think it's certainly in there. Just need to see them kind of go out and prove it against a defense that I definitely think is better than what Nebraska has.
Yeah, we do our best bets as part of our locks episode on Thursday, but let me just turn the temperature up because sounds like we might have a little lock fight coming on this matchup over there on the other side of the screen. We'll see how it's going. But matchup. We're doing best bets later in the week. Bud, tell me if I'm wrong. this is one of those chaos tempo games, right? Like this is two teams that want to handle their business different ways. What are going to be the keys to both either Michigan or USC really being able to impose their will and having the type of game script that they want to play? And if I'm reading this wrong, definitely let me know. But it is not quite oil and water, but it is definitely two teams that want to play different styles of games, right?
Yeah, I think like if USC was playing a team that operates at more of a normal tempo, as opposed to the extremely slow tempo with Michigan typically operates. Although Michigan's shown a little bit of sugar huddle stuff at times this year. But I do think if they were playing a team that's kind of a more normal tempo, they don't have to play super fast. But given all the different variety of blitzes that Michigan wants to bring under D coordinator Wake Martindale, I definitely think that you want to like make it a little bit harder to get some of those variety of blitzes in. You want to get to the line, maybe do some check with me stuff. Just make it a little bit harder to get those calls in. So you're getting kind of more simplified looks, maybe a few less exotic blitz packages from the Wolverines. So I would expect USC to probably crank the tempo here just a little bit.
Yeah, and can they get off the field versus Michigan? That 1-2 punch of Haynes and Marshall will be coming at them. Saw it firsthand in Michigan, in Nebraska when they were able to run the football, just kept pounding them. Can USC handle that physicality is going to be a massive question they need to answer.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that we'll need to see is can, that USC defensive line hold up against this Michigan offensive line? Because I do think USC's offensive line hasn't been at its best, but it's been injury plagued, as we discussed already. If they're healthy, I think that they'll be okay against the Michigan defense. But from what I've seen of this USC defensive front, I just don't know if they're going to be able to dictate anything as far as what they want. I think Michigan's offense will be able to lean on them, which would then help them dictate the pace and keep that USC offense off the field as much as possible. So I think that's the one area to truly be on the lookout for here.
Yeah, I think that starting fast for USC seems super important. Third down defense, the USC's depth. I mean, when we talk about what is going to happen in the Big Ten, the outside of the very top of the conference where we've got Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana right now, that this winner probably stays in the race. This loser, it's going to be like taking a little bit of a step back and fighting a much more of an uphill battle to try to be a contender deeper into the season. A lot of fun to be had out in the Coliseum on Saturday night.